You are in a crowded room. Noise everywhere. You are not really listening to anything. Dozens of voices overlapping. You catch fragments here and there, nothing that concerns you. Your brain is occupied elsewhere. Your drink, your thoughts, the person in front of you. And then, from somewhere across the room, you hear it, your name, just your name, cutting clean through all of that noise. You turn around immediately. Did someone call you? Or did you imagine it? Either way, you heard it. Nobody else in that room heard what you heard. How? You were not paying attention. The noise was identical for everyone. This happens to virtually every human being on Earth. And most people never think to ask why. Scientists have a name for it. They call it selective attention. But that name hides something much stranger. Because what it actually means is that your brain was listening to everything, the whole time. Every conversation, every background voice, every word being said in that room. And it was doing this without telling you. Not filtering out noise, actively scanning it, silently, continuously, waiting for something that mattered. The first person to study this seriously was a British cognitive scientist named Colin Cherry. In 1953, Cherry ran an experiment that sounds almost too simple to be important. He put headphones on his subjects. Different audio played into each ear simultaneously. The left ear heard one conversation. The right ear heard a completely different one. He told subjects to focus only on one side and repeat back everything they heard from that ear. They could do it. But here was the strange part. They had almost no memory of the other ear. They couldn't recall any words, couldn't identify the language, couldn't say if it was even a human voice. As far as their conscious mind was concerned, that ear heard nothing at all. But then Cherry changed one variable. He inserted the subject's own name into the ignored audio stream. Suddenly, people noticed. They turned. They broke concentration. They heard it. Not because they were trying to. Because something in their brain was already listening, without permission. Cherry called it the cocktail party effect. But what he had found was far more unsettling than a name. He had found evidence that your consciousness may not be in charge of what it thinks it controls. Your awareness, the thing you experience as paying attention, is not the full story. Beneath it, something else is running. Something older. Something considerably faster. Neuroscience has since confirmed something remarkable. Your auditory cortex processes every sound, not just the ones you focus on. This processing happens in layers. The first layer is unconscious and automatic. It receives everything. All frequencies, all voices, all words, all ambient environmental noise. The second layer filters. It decides what gets promoted to conscious awareness. Think of it as a massive sorting facility, operating around the clock with no supervisor you can speak to. Most sounds get sorted into a bin labeled not relevant, processed but never reaching you. You never know what you missed. The filtering is invisible, seamless, and entirely automatic. Researchers used EEG, electroencephalography, to measure this directly inside living brains. They found that even when subjects could not consciously perceive sounds from an unattended stream, their brains showed clear, measurable electrical responses to those sounds anyway. The brain was registering meaning, extracting information. It just was not sharing any of it. Scientists call this pre-attentive processing. It happens before conscious attention even begins. At University College London, neuroscientist Nili Levy measured how much information the brain handles below awareness. The answer was far more than anyone had previously expected. Your unconscious mind is not a passive receiver. It is an active parallel system running behind everything you experience. But this raises the obvious question. If the brain filters most things out, why does your name break through? The answer involves something the brain does with very few categories of information. Your name is not processed like other words. It has its own priority routing. From infancy, your brain learned to associate your name with one critical thing. Something is about to happen. attention, care, a warning, a command. Your name arrives, and something follows. Over hundreds of thousands of repetitions, your brain encoded a rule. This word concerns you specifically, not just any signal, a signal that directly involves your existence in the social world. Brain imaging studies confirm that hearing your own name activates regions not triggered by other names, including areas associated with self-referential processing, the same parts that activate when you think about yourself. Your name, neurologically, is part of your identity. Hearing it is not like hearing a word, it is closer to being touched. And this routing is remarkably robust, even at the very edges of consciousness. In 2006, researchers at MedStar Georgetown University Hospital studied patients in minimally conscious states. These were people who showed almost no external signs of awareness. Nearly nothing was getting through. When family members spoke their names, not generic words, not other names, brain activity measurably increased. Patients who could not respond to anything else still responded somewhere deep to their own name. The name recognition system is so deeply embedded, it can function when most cognitive processing has shut down entirely. Think about what that means. Beneath every layer of consciousness, your name is still being monitored for, still registering, still being flagged as important, still getting through. As if the brain contains a rule that cannot be switched off, whatever else you ignore, this never. But scientists found something even stranger when they looked closer. It is not just your name. Any information that is personally relevant to you receives the same preferential routing through your filters. The name of someone you love. A word tied to a recent fear. Something you are anxious about right now. Your brain runs a continuous background scan on all incoming sound, matching it against what matters to you. Researcher Kimron Shapiro at the University of Waterloo showed that emotionally significant words break through attention filters at dramatically higher rates. Not because people were trying to notice them, because the brain was pre-screening for them automatically. This pre-screening system is ancient. It predates language. It predates civilization by an enormous margin. In its earliest form, it existed to solve a problem every social animal has always faced. How do you detect threats and opportunities in an environment that is never quiet? The humans who could filter signal from noise, who could hear a predator through ambient sound, survived. The ones who could not did not survive to pass anything on. Natural selection built a surveillance system directly into the architecture of human perception, and what it monitors most closely is whatever is most relevant to survival. Threats, resources, and other people. Because in a social species, other people are simultaneously the greatest threat and the greatest resource available. Your name, inside this system, is shorthand for one thing. Someone is talking about you. And someone is talking about you is, evolutionarily speaking, extremely high priority information. You need to know. Are they warning you? Calling for help? Criticizing you behind your back? The brain cannot afford to miss this. So it never does. Every moment of every day, in every room you enter, your brain is quietly asking, is anyone saying my name? Now here is where it gets uncomfortable. If your brain has a built-in priority channel, one that bypasses your conscious filters completely, what happens when someone else discovers exactly how to use it? Because they already have. For quite some time. Dale Carnegie's 1936 book dedicated an entire chapter to a single observation that sounds almost trivial. A person's own name to that person is the sweetest sound in any language. Carnegie was not being poetic. He was describing a neurological fact before neuroscience had the tools to confirm it. He had simply noticed, through decades of observation, that using someone's name changed how they responded, every time, reliably. The book sold over 30 million copies. Its advice was tested in sales rooms, boardrooms, and political campaigns for decades. Today, that same insight has been industrialized at a scale Carnegie could not have imagined. email marketing software automatically inserts your name into subject lines as standard practice. Because open rates increase by up to 26% when your name appears there, not because you consciously think this is addressed to me specifically. The name detection system fires before you decide. The decision is made before the decision is made. Customer service training teaches representatives to use your name repeatedly throughout a call, specifically because it triggers the neurological response of being recognized by someone familiar, even when no familiarity exists. Political campaigns research which voters respond to being addressed by name in town halls. The answer consistently is most of them. And then algorithms went further still. They do not even need your name. They have learned what else trips your personal relevance filter, what categories your brain flags as worth monitoring. Every time you linger on a piece of content, the algorithm notes what your unconscious system decided mattered. Then it feeds you precisely more of that, not to inform you, to keep you engaged, to keep you in the room, to hold your ancient surveillance system in a permanent state of mild alert without you noticing it is happening. The cocktail party effect, your brain's mechanism for detecting what matters in a noisy environment, has become the central target of a multi-trillion-dollar industry. An industry built entirely around one discovery: that attention can be captured below the level at which you notice it being captured. So what do you do with this? Most people, when they learn about pre-attentive processing, feel vaguely unsettled. They believe they were in control of what they noticed. Now they know they were not entirely. But there is another way to see it. Your brain is not betraying you. It is solving a problem you could not possibly solve consciously. Researchers estimate that roughly 11 million bits of sensory information arrive at your brain every second. Your conscious mind can process approximately 40 to 50 bits of that per second. The rest is handled somewhere below awareness, by something that does not narrate its work or ask permission. It just scans, sorts, elevates what matters, discards what does not. And the vast majority of the time, it gets it right. What it lets through is genuinely worth noticing. The problem is not the system. The problem is that it was designed for a world that no longer exists. In that world, every signal in your environment came from nature or from other people, and was honest. A sound in the grass was either a predator or it was not. Your name being spoken meant someone nearby wanted your attention. The signals were real. They meant exactly what they appeared to mean. Today, that same brain runs inside an environment where signals are engineered, deliberately, professionally, and at enormous scale. Subject lines are crafted to sound like personal messages. Notification sounds mimic patterns of human speech. Recommendation systems are built to find precisely the category of content your ancient relevance filter cannot ignore. None of it is lying exactly. None of it is quite telling the truth either. It is all just very good at sounding like your name. The next time you hear your name across a room and you turn around, pay attention to that moment. Notice the automatic nature of it, the speed. The fact that your body moved before any conscious thought occurred. That is not a flaw. That is millions of years of evolution operating exactly as it was designed to. But also notice what else triggers that same turning, what makes you look, what makes you click, what content holds your eyes for 3 seconds longer than everything else. Because somewhere in that list, there are things that are genuinely yours, things that actually matter, things worth the attention. And there are things that are simply very good at sounding like they are. Your brain cannot always distinguish between them. It was never built to. It was built for a world where the signals were honest and the noise was just noise. You are among the first generations of humans asked to do something evolution never prepared you for. Learn to be skeptical of your own attention. Not because it is broken, but because the environment around it is. You were not distracted. You were not weak. You were not failing at focus. You had a surveillance system doing its job with extraordinary precision. The problem is that someone else figured out where the microphone was, and they have been whispering into it ever since.